David Pollack used to be on College Game Day and former NFL player and All-American at Georgia, and kind enough to join us on the program. All right, let me start with Oregon and Washington. Some of the game time decisions, late game decisions there with Dan Lanning. How do you explain his philosophy?
I don't know. I don't have an explanation for you, Dan. I'm sitting there going like, what are we doing? I mean, I get it. And listen, Oregon and Dan Lanning, like they want to be aggressive, right? Like that's their mindset, and aggressive. I think there's a fine line between aggressive and reckless. And I think that was a little bit reckless when you're at midfield, around that area. I don't know, man. And then listen, I don't think they had a lot of confidence to stop Michael Penix Jr. and probably rightfully so. And you saw he scored, and then they had time to go down and try to kick a field goal to tie it. And maybe that was the thought process that you weren't going to do it. But man, oh man. And listen, these analytics, Dan, they drive me nuts. I mean, it's just strange to watch. Like you're sitting there watching. There was another game I'm watching, the Falcons game yesterday. And you're going, they're down by 14, and they score with 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they go for 2. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I know that little sheet of paper says if they kick a field goal and then we do this, and if we get it, I think sometimes we outthink it, man. I think I'm punting the football, trying to down him inside the 1, get a few sacks, rush him a little bit, make something happen. It was an interesting decision by Oregon.
What do you take away from Washington and Michael Penix Jr.?
I tell you what, man, I knew coming into the game Oregon was going to have a better run game. I thought it would be easier for them. I thought Oregon's up front would win a lot more. But do you see the ball placement that he plays with? I mean, first of all, the lefty just looks fun. It looks good coming out. Like it looks sweet. But the ball placement, the weapons out wide at wide receiver, I think they're going to be a tough out. And listen, if you look across college football, I don't think Washington's defense is elite. But again, are we comparing them to everybody else? Where I can poke holes in everybody. There's not a single team in this playoff picture this year that I can go, that's a dominant team on both sides of the football. So when you have him, and you have those weapons, and you have an offense, I think that they're going to have a shot to do what they want. Listen, the schedule sets up great too. If you haven't been to Washington, by the way, that's a tough place to play, man. Like they are a rabid fan base. Like it is very in the South feel to it. Like it's nuts, and they've got a great schedule at home. So if you think Washington's a purple flash in the pan, you're wrong.
How does USC not have a defense?
Okay, so your defensive philosophy leaves a lot to be questioned. They believe in stunting up front, the majority of the time. They believe in playing deep coverage. The way they've recruited, obviously, you can tell that a lot of the bullets go to the other side of the football, which is fine, but a system that is, listen, if you want to be honest, it's just not the system that builds you don't see a lot of toughness. I don't see a lot of physicality, let's put it that way, on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And we've seen over the years, whether you spread it out and put more emphasis on quarterbacks and speed and the outside, in the end, if I got guys that can win in the trenches, I can change the numbers advantage that everybody likes to play with. And I just don't see a lot of, blocking for Caleb Williams up front was a struggle. The defensive line stopping the run and getting a consistent pass rush was a struggle.
But
so
is
the
it
line
talent,
of scrimmage,
David? Is it talent that they're lacking, or is it philosophy that they're lacking?
I think that I don't think they have a lot of depth of talent up front, but I do think the philosophy needs to continue to be tweaked. So I will say that I think they could do more with what they have.
Talking to David Pollack. Georgia looks vulnerable. Like it feels like there's not a great team. So you handicap your alma mater.
Well, Brock Bowers being banged up changes it too. Yeah. Let's see what comes out about him. But I would be surprised if he's back in the next couple weeks. And they're an offensive team. I think they're a team that you're going to have to depend on. Carson Beck, he's a flamethrower. Like that dude's got an arm. He's got poise. He's got weapons with McConkey, and you see Ra Thomas starting to come on, another transfer from Mississippi State. So I think they're good enough to score with anybody. stopping people is going to continue to be a challenge. You saw it with Vanderbilt again. I mean, the defense is. If you turn on a game the last 2 years and you watch Georgia's defense and you turn it on now, you're like, what happened? And here's the thing. You don't have runs like that. Like all of those guys that you saw during those 2-year run, they're all playing on Sundays. If you turn the tape on, like you start watching Sundays, like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. That guy played defense at Georgia. That guy played defense at Georgia. I mean, all 11 of the defensive starters for the first national championship, they all got drafted. So, I mean, it's going to look different. But if you look at the schedule, Ole Miss is going to be a problem. A running quarterback with a system that can also run the football, throw the football a little bit more. But again, that's at home. Missouri is their next toughest game. That's at home. So it is a tough place to go to walk into with that crowd, that noise, that atmosphere. It's tough for anybody to go in there and win.
Colorado's up big on Stanford. A lot of people probably turned that off. It was at Friday night. How big a story is Colorado now in college football?
I think the people that wanted to line up and take shots at Deion, it's a big story for them now. Like they're excited about that. But man, that was a colossal failure the other night. I mean, that was, you're up 29-0 on an anemic offense in Stanford. You built your team around a Travis Hunter type guy who got beat all night and just got beat all. And listen, the thing I would say watching that is, okay, if I'm Colorado, at what point do I go, I'm up 29? Let's run the football. Let's eat some clock. Let's not play fast. Like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but you're not expecting Stanford to come back, though. I mean, I guess in fairness to Deion and Colorado, they want to continue to, put up big numbers there, let everybody see what they're doing there. I don't think they were thinking, Stanford could come back. We got to run the clock.
Well, and then you look up and you say, see what happened was. I mean, so and that's the thing, man. Do you want style points? Sure. If you want style points, let it rip. But man, I want to win football games. And when you lose to it, when you have this and you're trending and you beat TCU, and obviously that's not like a big win now. We see that. TCU is not a great football team. But when you start to build momentum, here's the thing. It's easy to build momentum in the beginning of something. Like a lot of coaches come in and build momentum and build energy. The hardest thing to do is sustain it. And when you start losing to 1-4 Stanford, and now the ship looks a little bit different, and creating that tidal wave of recruiting and creating the energy and the buzz, man, it's hard to continue to do. You only kind of get that one shot at it. And I think this kind of takes them down a notch and puts a little chink in the armor.
Good to talk to you as always, David. Thank you for joining us.
Great to talk to you, Dan. See you, Bob.
David Pollack, former Georgia Bulldog, and always a Georgia Bulldog, and used to be with College Game Day.